Healers are one of the cornerstones of support roles in Genshin Impact. When any character has healing properties that affect the entire team, they're pretty much automatically in the conversation. It doesn't feel like shield characters where they're not really necessary, because there are some characters like Xiao, Wriothesley, and Gaming that benefit from having a healer on the team because of how they take their own HP. Of course, some healers are better than others, and some have been outshone by new healers. In my opinion though, no healer is outright bad. Maybe besides Siegewayne. A lot of healers have secondary effects that make them even better, like Bennett having amazing buffing potential, Dory being a decent option for Hyper Bloom, Xingqiu having amazing Hydro application, Diona having a shield, and Furina having, well, pretty much everything. With the versatility of the healer roster, you might be thinking, how easy could a team of healers beat the game? Well, let's see by beating Genshin Impact using only healers. Here are the rules. I can only use healers for everything. Co-op is allowed, but I cannot abuse it. No healing items in battle, obviously. All uses of a healer character are allowed, such as Furina's damage mode and Diona's shield. We of course have to make some rules as to who counts for a healer as well, so here's the rules that I came up with for that. Characters that can heal the entire team with their kit are allowed. Characters that get healing from constellations don't count, such as Zhongli and Goro. Characters that only heal themselves don't count, such as Neuvillette. Putting a weapon like recurve bow on a character doesn't make them count as a healer. That means the list of characters we can use are Barbara, Noelle, Jean, Qiqi, Diona, Sayu, Kokomi, Baizhu, Dory, Xingqiu, Yaoyao, Mika, Shinobu, Chevreuse, Charlotte, Furina, Xianyun, and Siegewayne. That was recorded before Zealand was released, and I somehow forgot to include Bennett on that list. Now that we got all the rules out of the way, let's see if you can beat Genshin Impact using only healers. To start this challenge, we need to actually get a healer on a new account. I know I could just pull Noelle because she's technically counts as a healer, but it feels kind of cheap to be using Noelle as our first healer because she's way more of a shielder. Because I'm not going for Noelle, I'm going to have to make a bunch of accounts until I get a healer. Let's see what we got on the first account. Healer. Please. That's not... Oh my god. She's cool, but she's not a healer. Fischl has absolutely no healing properties, so we're gonna have to make another account. The second account we named Watermelon, and let's see what we got. 10 pull. 4-star? That's fine. Just be a healer. Come on. Oh, yes! 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 Barbara! Yes! Getting Barbara on our second reroll account was very lucky. Barbara's kind of like the textbook healer. Her elemental skill heals, her burst heals, and she's not really meant for damage. And that's specifically why she's going to be the DPS of the team. You heard me right, Barbara DPS for this challenge. Until we get another healer, it's pretty much Barbara only for now, so let's move on with the Archon quest. First we need to do Amber's, Kaya's, and Lisa's domain, and we were able to skip both Amber's and Lisa's domain by doing some parkour. For Kaya's domain, I struggled with jumping over the water, but that's fine because all the enemies were easy. That's the end of Act 1, and now we need to reach AR10 to start Act 2. I usually find this a good time to talk about the pros and cons of the challenge I'm doing, or the character I'm using when I'm talking about a solo challenge, but this time I'm going to talk about why I did this challenge. Some of you might have been thinking that this challenge doesn't seem like much of a challenge at all, so why are you doing this? Well, because I've never really had a chill team challenge. 1-star weapons might fall into that category, but this one definitely does. There's pretty much no drawbacks to using only healers because most of them are at least good. I just wanted a challenge that I could play at my own pace and have fun with, while also streaming for you guys. If I were to assign any type of difficulty to this challenge, it's that we have a limited amount of characters we can use. Now I say limited, but I have access to 18 characters. Like I said, this is just a fun challenge, and it doesn't matter if it's difficult or not. If you do want a difficult team challenge, then I have plenty of other videos for you to watch, like physical damage only and no building characters. As for this challenge, let's just have fun with it. To get to AR10, we do the usual monster exploration, including opening chests, completing adventure handbook challenges, and collecting animoculi. Before long, we reached AR10, and we got a free 10 pull on standard banner. Even though I'm not even gonna get a healer watch. I'm not even gonna get a healer. Why even bother? I'm using reverse psychology. This might just be the worst game I've ever played. This might just be the worst game I've ever played. But it's not, because I'm about to get... No. But I'm about to get Bennett. This is Bennett. I already know. Oh my fucking god! It's really gonna be Barbara only. It of course sucks that we didn't get a healer, but that's fine because on the event banner is Bennett right now. I could continue and hope to get a Bennett later, but I want more than just one character, so we're gonna spend a bit of money. I've made plenty of decisions to lead to this moment. It's a Bennett. Actually, there was no delay, so it's not gonna be a Bennett. There it is. This is him, I already know it. What is happening? I've gotten both the characters on this banner besides the one that I need. Here we go. There was no delay. It's not Bennett. I might kill someone. There was no delay again. It's not Bennett. This game is toying with my emotions. There was no delay again. It's not Bennett. There was no delay again. It's not Bennett. There's no delay. It's not Bennett. I get why people don't like this game. Okay, who the hell just did that? It's Bennett.
This is your team? Cool.
Whoever did that, you are the savior of this challenge. This is the 5-star. Here it is. Just give me the all-hate thumb. I know this is just my luck. Well, look at that. I hate this game. I'm so out of the mood. After the most depressing and misery-inducing polling session ever where Sethos had an identity crisis and thought he was a healer, we finally got Bennett. Of course it's nice to have him because Bennett is a really good character, but was it worth over $100? Oh yeah, we also bought Barbara's outfit because she deserves it. With our gold-digging Bennett now in our hands, we can start Act 2. We meet the Weird Liar Man. I'm allowed to use any... The Ring! Who takes us to Windrise to fight an Eye of the Storm. It didn't even matter when it flew up because Barbara could still easily hit it with her normal attacks. We steal the Holy Liar and then meet Diluc, who is tragically not a healer. He takes us to the Fatui hideout, and the only fight worth mentioning is the one against the agent. Because Barbara is our main damage dealer, when he goes invisible, we pretty much can't hit it. It was definitely annoying, but manageable. Now we need to collect 3 teardrop crystals, and for the Ruin Garden domain, which actually have enemies, Barbara works as a DPS, but she's definitely going to have a bit more investment to reach that next level. Now the Weird Liar Man can call Dvalin. You know, I kinda have a hunch that he's Barbados. With Act 2 done, we need to reach AR-18 to start Act 3. Around this time we unlock commissions, which is an easy and consistent source of Prima Gems for wishing, for healers, and experience for raising our AR. But before doing those, we get a free wish from our AR rewards, so let's see what we get. Ooh. 4-star, there was a delay. Yes! 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 Sayu! Not only is this another healer for the roster, but Sayu is one of my favorite characters in the game, so this was heavily welcomed. The only drawback to using Sayu is that we can't ascend her until we reach Inazuma, but it's fine, even though we can't ascend her, it's fine, cause Sayu. What will we do to reach AR-18? Well, first I very tiredly did Kaya's story quest, and then I went to Liwa, which is probably the second best place to go for experience. But you know what else Liwa has? 2 4-star healers. When we reached AR-15, we could ascend our characters, besides Sayu, of course. I also ascended all my non-healer characters so I can get the free wish from them. Once I did that, and unlocked a few Shrine of Depths, I had a 10 pull on standard banner. I didn't think so, but DPS Barbara! DPS Barbara becomes more and more viable by the second. In terms of quests, I did both parts of Treasure Lost, Treasure Found, the Chi of Yore, and Lisa's story quest, and I opened a lot of chests in Liyue. I then failed to name all Genshin characters, and then finished my AR grinding by doing some Trial Grounds of Thunder, which is an easy domain to do for experience. Now we're at AR-18 and we can start Act 3. First is the Hydro Abyss Mage at the entrance to Stormterror's lair, and you might think that we might struggle with this because our DPS is Barbara, but we could just burn the grass under them with Bennett to easily get rid of its shield.
Let's make a detour then.
Let's make a detour then. Inside of Stormterror's lair, we have to trigger 3 light actuators, and for the one with the Pyro Abyss Mage, we had Barbara to deal with them quickly. Last is Dvalin, and even though I could easily complete this fight on the first try, I was stubborn and I wanted to get a one-phase fight. It took 3 tries, and of course on the first attempt where I had Bennett's burst, we one-phased him. This is probably the best evidence that I could show of Bennett's burst being really good. That's the end of Act 3, and for completing Act 3, we get a Barbara constellation. It's really not a very good constellation, especially because Barbara's burst absolutely sucks in this challenge because we're always getting healing, but it's free, so I'm not going to complain. Now I have to reach AR 23 to start Liyue, but here's the thing. I realize that I've been calling this challenge by the wrong name. Healers only. From day 3 onwards, this challenge will be known as Barbara's Bizarre Adventure! First thing I did on day 3 was complete my commissions, and then I did some story quests. The story quests I did were Diluc's, Amber's, and Razor's story quests. During Amber's story quest, Bennett did an Ultra Mega 360 no hacks move to make it so he didn't have to use an archer in this domain. Starting from that moment, it was my goal to make every character on the healer team prove their worth. Barbara had obviously already done that, and Bennett just proved his, so right now we're just waiting on Sayu. I then went to Spiral Abyss to collect some more Primo Gems, but not to spend right now, just save for the next banners. The next 2 banners were Siegeween and Furina, both healers. This was literally the perfect time to be playing this account. My next pull will be a 4-star. I don't think it's a character because there was no delay. It's a... Wait, is that a C5 Sethos? C4? Oh my god. Wish for a healer. That...
Smell. Nice. Let's hunt.
I don't know what I expected. Oh... This is insulting! This is insulting! After Spiral Abyss, I did more Liyue world quests, particularly Luhua landscapes and the tree who stands alone, and some more random Liyue exploration, including going up to the Virgin Jade Chamber. Right after that, I went to the old reliable Trial Grounds of Thunder to get the rest of the experience I needed. Soon after, I reached AR 23 and now I could start Act 1, but I decided to end Day 3 there and pick it up on Day 4. Day 4 happened to coincide with the release of the new banners. I think it kinda goes without saying that I decided to pull Furina instead of Siegeween. Furina is very versatile with her attacks and healing mode, while Siegeween sucks. You might notice that the 4 stars include Noelle, who I counted as a healer. Well, I'll tell you right now that I only included her as a healer to stop comments from saying that I didn't include Noelle. At this point in the challenge, I was 100% against using Noelle, because she's just way more of a shield character than a healer to me. Come at me all you want with the Noelle defense comments, I'm very used to them by now, but I'm not going to use Noelle in a healers only challenge. If I do shields only one day, then she'll be the Barbara of that account, the most valued and important member of the team. Kokomi! Oh my god, I don't remember this part of the... Either way, let's see the Furina pulls. First 10 pull, first 5-star 10 pull. Watch. Nope. Next 10 pull. More 4 stars. Amazing. Incredible. Another 4-star. But what's even crazier is the Furina we're about to get. Oh my god. What is my wishing luck? This isn't gonna be it. I already know. It's gonna be another Noelle. Oh, Rosaria. At least she's not a character we've gotten yet. But this is the one. Why aren't you pulling Siegeween? Because I don't like Siegeween. But what I am gonna use is the Furina we're about to get. Yes, there she is. You took long enough, Furina. But it's fine. I'm gonna ignore that because Furina! Do I even need to explain why Furina is good? She has amazing healing, amazing damage output, amazing hydro application, and can buff. Genuinely one of the most versatile and effective characters in the game at this point. Now let's start Act 1. The Dragon Daddy dies and Child makes us tell all the Adepti about his death. versus Mooncarver, who gave us a buff that increases our energy recharge, which meant infinite Furina and Bennett buffs. Next was Mountain Shaper, and all we had to do was quickly find this guy's brother in the Amber. Next is Cloud Retainer, who we made some food for before skipping her domain by jumping off a tree. Last is Zhao, and for this part we need to fight a Ruin Hunter. It could literally only get out 2 attacks before it died. That's the end of Act 1, and now we need to reach AR 25 to start Act 2. I don't really have a lot to talk about for this AR grind because it was just a lot of random exploration in both Liyue and Mondstadt. I explored Tianshu Valley and the Nameless Island in Mondstadt. Bet you haven't heard that name in a while.
Furina's having a moment. Okay.
Soon after, I decided to end Day 4. Day 5 was filmed on Barbara's birthday, so happy belated birthday, Barbara.
Barbara. Barbara. Barbara!
Benny, no! I explored the 3 temples in Lisha, which got us to AR 25, but I still have to grind all our characters' bosses before starting Act 2, besides Sayu, of course. Pyro Registine is really easy, obviously. Hydrotulpa is annoying, but not horrible. And Oceanate is annoying and horrible.
Oh, okay, Sayu. I see.
In the middle of fighting them, I did a random pull while riding the Aquabus.
Watch this. Watch this. Qiqi, Jean. Barbara weapon, bitches!
This is the final phase in my Barbara DPS experiment. Next I got the resources for all my characters, and then I did the Ascension domain. It was as easy as always, and it gave us a few wishes.
Ooh, a 4-star.
I'm glad you gave me a chance.
I really
Wait,
wait, does he count as a healer? Wait, does he count?
The reason I was skeptical if Kaveh healed or not is because of his passive talent, which basically heals you from Bloom. I tested out and sadly it only affects Kaveh. This sucks because I really wanted to use Kaveh, and I honestly still want to use him on a team challenge. Now time for Act 2. We meet the Dragon Daddy, who takes us to Mondstadt to boil some rocks. While over there, we fight some Hilichurls who are obviously easy. It might seem a little unfair to be using Furina, especially this early in the game, but if I have the chance to use Furina, I'm gonna take it. As I said, this is a more chill challenge. Later we go inside Granny's teapot to fight some slimes. Sadly for our girl Barbara, she didn't have a good matchup with most of them. Bennett, however, had a great matchup against all of them. Later in the quest we met a fellow healer. It would be pretty cool to have a cryo healer. Maybe we could do some perma-freeze shenanigans with Barbara, Furina, and Qiqi.
More walking.
At the Guizhong Ballista, we hear the most inspirational quote to ever grace gaming. It was the quote that fueled our motivation for the rest of the challenge, and the quote that I live by to this day.
These parts look useful.
These parts look useful.
Yeah, for some reason Chad and I took this quote and made a massive joke out of it for the rest of the challenge. While there, we fought some treasure hoarders who we couldn't let destroy our useful parts, so we destroyed them.
Hello, Mr. Zhongli. Nice establishment. Doesn't match the opera epic class, but I guess it'll do. Let me bring my friends. Yahoo. Alright, let's have a meal.
We then had a dinner with the Dragon Daddy, and that's when we realized that he's a fake healer. You might remember one of the rules being no healers that only become healers after getting constellations, and Zhongli is the worst offender to this. You have to get his C6 to get his healing properties, so that means he's just milking you dry before he'll heal you. This is an utter disgrace to the idea of healing. Anyway, that's the end of Act 2.
What an amazing meal, Zhongli. If that's even your real name. But I gotta go. I got this opera to go to. I have a very busy schedule, so I'll be seeing you.
Now we need to reach AR 18 to start Act 3. Those who regularly watch my channel know that we have one last place to go to for a bunch of experience. Dragonspine. Dragonspine is pretty easy exploration that gives you a bunch of pretty much everything experience. The first 3 hours of Day 6 was all dedicated to exploring Dragonspine, which I'm not going to go into because it's always the same process. Now we're at AR 18 and we can start Act 3. We trigger the anima mechanism with Sayu and then fight some Millilith soldiers at the Guizhong Ballista. It was similar to the treasure hoarder fight in that it was easy. Later we have to sing to some flowers for the fake healer. 3 Whopper Flowers appear out of nowhere, but they were swiftly killed. Next was Child. Phase 1 and Phase 3 were a little annoying because of his Hydra resistance, but in Phase 2 I was struggling more with the ping than I was Child.
Oh, you think you're special?
Barbara can do that too! Last is Osial, and this is obviously easy because it's Osial. That's the end of Act 3 and the end of Day 6. My goal for Day 7 is to complete both Dainsleif quest and the Inazuma prologue quest, but that's less important compared to the special guest I had on during the stream, Sugar Izzy Fox. You should check her out, she's a cool streamer. Both of the Dainsleif quests aren't too hard because we have Sayu who can absolutely shred through the Abyss shields.
Alright, so of our team, who's Walter and who's Jesse?
I'm too stupid.
Furina's
Genuinely.
Jesse. I don't know why she is.
Barbara is Walter. Furina is Jesse. And Sayu, I think, would be Saul Goodman.
Better calls, all you.
Next we fought our bosses some more from when we ascend our characters once we reach Era 30. The Pyro Righteous Find stayed similarly easy, but the Hydrotopla and especially Oceanid got even more annoying. We had to basically rely completely on Bennett for both of these fights, and when the Raptor Mimic spawned during the Ocean fight we had to rely on Skyward Atlas. It took forever, but after a while we finally got everything we needed, so we could start the Inazuma prologue quest, which only had easy treasure hoarders and slimes. I decided to ascend a few of my characters to get the free wishes from them, so let's see what we get from that.
Good for exploration.
All right, let's get these wishes out of the way before delving more into this topic. I'll 4-star.
Diona.
No!
Courier for Inazuma's Komani Express.
How? I called
She has cursed you! She has cursed you!
I called it!
That was a scream of agony.
The reason I was so distraught by this is because I called that we were going to get Kirara when I wanted Diona. I want Diona not only to use, but also for the archery demonstration. You might just be saying, then why didn't you pull Siegewin earlier? And the answer to that is she sucks. She doesn't excel at any of her roles, her damage isn't anything special, and her playstyle is the most uncomfortable in the game in my opinion. This isn't hate towards Siegewin mains, by the way. If you like Siegewin, that's perfectly fine and I'm happy for you. I just don't. At least now we can really start Inazuma. The first quarter of Inazuma Act 1 is spent entirely in Rito, and nothing interesting happens until the transport mission, which features treasure hoarders and Ronin. I haven't mentioned this yet, but combining Bennett and Barbara or Furina gives us pretty good vaporized damage. Too bad it's not very consistent. I ended Day 7 there and picked up Act 1 on Day 8. Way later in the quest, we have to break somebody out of jail while fighting the Tenryou Commission. Even when the enemies are all around the room, they're still easy to take down with Furina's helpers and Barbara's charge attack. Now I need to complete Ayaka's and Yoimiya's story quest to start Act 2. But before I did that, I had something way more important to do. We finally made it to Inazuma, which means we can finally ascend Sayu. We quickly got some of her crystal marrow and quickly beat up the Magu Kenki to ascend Sayu to level 50. Right after doing that, we cleared Ayaka's and Yoimiya's story quest, and now we can do Act 2, which starts with us fighting the Raiden Shogun. I intended on just having Furina get knocked to low HP to end the fight sooner, but Archon vs Archon was more interesting. Before any Furina mains comment that she's not an Archon, I know. I've played Act 5 a dozen times by now. That is 11 more times than most of you guys. Once we're done with that, we go to save the Virgin, who takes us to the Resistance Camp. At the Resistance Camp, we have to do the archery demonstration, which we can't do with any of our characters. You might be thinking Furina can do it, but her attacks with her elemental skill are too random to actually work. None of my other characters are even in the question, so that leaves us one choice: Poling. What I hope to get is either a Diona or a Mika because he has a crossbow.
You see Diona? You see her? She's gonna walk into our arms. No. No. Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. No! No! No!
Astrology.
Double, triple 4-star. None of them being...
Singcho, at your service, my liege. I humbly trust that even
Cool,
one
a
such
healer.
as I...
I'm not gonna use him. And you're not even a healer.
You oppress.
That was fucking pathetic. There's the chance for a double 4-star.
I hate this game. So that's $100. No Diona. I think it's safe to say we're not getting Diona anytime soon. So maybe I should just use Tighnari.
There has to be another way.
Why do they target the red ones? This is not possible with my team and my characters. I'm not gonna try and deny it anymore, and I'm not gonna try and pull for Diona anymore. I want to move on. I hate this game. It's clear to me that Diona isn't the friend that I thought she would be. She has some dark desires for this challenge. She doesn't want to see us complete it. She was jealous that I was using all these other healers, so all she wants to do is bankrupt me so I can't do anything anymore. If this is Barbara's Bizarre Adventure, then Diona is Diona now. I then completed the rest of Act 2 with no struggles, but I ended the stream after that because I was bummed out. Day 9 starts with Act 3, which starts with us clearing some Ronin around Watatsumi Island. We had to do it for the #1 healer, Kokomi. Next we have to trigger 3 Electro Monuments, and you might think this is another Diona situation. But I have a plan. I'm going to try and swirl Electro with Sayu's roll so we can roll into all the monuments, triggering them. There's just one problem. It's always raining on Yashiori Island. Because of that, Hydro will have a higher priority than any Electro I can get onto Sayu. So what do? Well, I clear the rain. There's a world quest called Orabashi's Legacy. Completing the first 2 parts of that quest will clear the area of the island that houses the Electro Monuments. But how will I get Electro on Sayu? Well, there's a sword you can interact with that'll strike you down with thunder, applying you with Electro. So all you have to do is get applied with Electro and then roll over to the monuments. The first attempt I accidentally swirled Hydro from the ocean, the second attempt I got stuck on something, and on the third attempt... Sayu, go. 1, 2, 3. Oh, Sayu! Sayu moment! Oh my god. That is the Sayu moment we've been waiting for this entire playthrough. It took very long, but Sayu finally proved her worth. Not a single member on this team is worse than another in my opinion. They are all equally amazing. Unless you got Singcho, then yeah, he's the worst, but you know, that's not really fair. Next is the Delusion Factory. And unless you're Nomura, a full team will never really struggle against this domain.
I need to beat the Hydra one first, even if the Electro guy is the bane of my existence. Okay, we have Houston, we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem.
Most of the time. One non-healer catalyst makes us pass out, and another non-healer catalyst saves us, but also makes us do some anti-Raiden Shogun training. Soon after that, we meet... Sayu! And then fight a bunch of tent recognition soldiers. It doesn't even matter that Barbara sometimes struggles with multiple enemies because we can just take down everything so fast. Now it's time to fight Signora, and I think in the middle of Phase 2, she realized she stood no chance.
Immolation! A cherished agony. Do you feel it?
Hello? Signora? Hello? Signora? Signora? Hello? Signora? What the hell happened? Why did... What the hell? She wasn't... What the hell happened to her?
That's the true sign of a strong team. If your Signora's never done that, it's because you're not using this team. Now it's time for the second Raiden fight, which gives us a bunch of buffs, so of course it wasn't difficult. That's the end of Act 3. Now we need to get to AR-35 to start Sumeru, and we also need to complete the Chasm Dainsleif quest. But first, before doing any of that, we need to get materials for ascending our characters and our weapons, which includes more bosses. Basically, everybody has the same amount of difficulty as they had before. After doing that for what felt like forever, we finally had all the materials that we needed so we can do the Ascension domain. The only interesting part about this domain was this.
These guys have no chill. Calm down for just a second. It's so bright. Oh my god. I'm going blind. Never use Furina's burst in one of these domains.
Other than that, it was really easy. Now we can do the Dainsleif Chasm quest, but I left that for day 10. Day 10 came, and the Dainsleif Chasm quest was exactly as easy as I thought it would be. We have Sayu for all the Abyss enemies, and it's even better here because we can swirl one of their elements and just destroy both of them. With that quest done, we can start Sumeru. We get taken in by Kale and the honorary healer Tainari, and with the honorary healer we have to clear out a withering zone. The withering zone had hydro fungi and they were all in the water, so we could use Bennett to vaporize them. Later we go inside the dream domain, which only had hilichurls that were pretty easy. At Sumeru City we get our Akasha terminal and then go to Port Ormos and meet Alhaitham. Man, it's been a while since we've met a healer. I wonder where they... Oh my god, is that Dory? She's a healer! We buy a knowledge capsule from her and then test it out on some fungi, and death was the only option for them. Last are the eremites at the dock.
Stop.
That's the end of Act 1 and the end of Day 10. Day 11 just so happened to coincide with the start of 5.0, which meant we could choose a free 5-star. Since Jean and Qiqi are the only standard 5-stars that I can use for this challenge based on the rules that I put for myself, it was between them. First thing I would do before choosing either of them was get a 5-star on both event and standard banner. Both of them had a chance of being one of these two 5-stars, and I didn't want to pick one and then get them later, so we're going to get this out of the way.
Is it gonna be Mulan? Or am I gonna lose the 50-50 and get a character that, you know, actually works for this challenge? Or I'll get Zhenyan. Or I'll get Mulan. Okay, cool. Awesome. There. Alright, what? Really? I don't have a... Really?
Turns out I had nothing to worry about. Welcome home, Qiqi. I chose Qiqi because not only do I like her a lot more, but she also gives us the permafreeze that I've wanted. The only problem with getting her is farming violet grass, and you might be thinking just use the item finder that they added in 5.0, and Qiqi tracks regional specialties either way, so what's the big deal? Well, the item finder really only tells you what area you can find them, not exactly where they are like it originally did. And for the second point, you know where violet grasses are found? On mountains. You know what else is found on mountains? Qingxin. I very quickly got tired of farming these, so I only got her to level 60 for now. The Cryo Regisvine, on the other hand, is really easy. The weapon I put on her was, no joke, Black Cliff Longsword. I had a lot of star glitter from wishing, so might as well use it. Sadly, this means I'm gonna bench Bennett, but not forever. He will come back later, don't worry. Let's continue to Act 2, and by that I mean let's continue to Act 3, because there's only one instance of combat in Act 2 that's really easy. Act 3 starts with us meeting the Top Doctor, and then we go into the forest to fight some eremites, and it's clear that permafreeze Qiqi with Barbara and Furina is working very well. Next is Act 4, which starts with more eremites with a bit more NPC flavor. It kind of feels unfair how good this permafreeze team is, but I'm gonna take it. At the Elizal Hospital, we have to fight a Geological. Our only real option to take down its Geoshield was Sayu, but that was a good option because she worked well against it. Now we need to trigger 3 Dendro Pillars, but we don't have any Dendro Healers, so what are we going to do? Well, we can grab a Dendrogram and then rush over to the Pillars, charge attack on them, and that works for all 3 of them. That's the end of Day 11, and on Day 12 I continued Act 4. Later in the quest is the King Deshret domain, which is filled with fungi that we can mostly skip. The only fight that posed any threat was the 2 flying Dendro Fungi and 2 big Hydro Fungi. But really, nothing can beat our permafreeze team. Last is Act 5. This quest also starts with eremites, but it's not like these ones are any harder, especially because we have helpers. At Party Sti, we have to fight a bunch of Fatui soldiers. This is the exact team that I wanted against the Fatui soldiers earlier in the quest. Freeze to keep them in place, Cryo to get rid of the Electrohammer guy's shield, and just pure strength. After what should be called a warning for things to come in future Archon quests,
This isn't the way to the...
and Kokomi getting a girlfriend, don't ask why it's Emily, it's time for the Diaz Foundry. And we brought back Bennett for this, but don't worry, Sayu will come back later. All I have to do for this domain is show you this fight.
Holy shit.
Yeah, this domain was no problem. Now it's time for Scaramouche. Despite this boss going against my entire team's philosophy of permafreeze, it's still really easy because of how much damage we deal. However, in Phase 2 I failed to destroy all the Nirvana engines and I was stubborn again and left because I knew I could. And just as I predicted, I could. Last is the polluted domain, but once again, nothing could stand in the way of our permafreeze. That's the end of Sumeru Act 5. Now we need to reach AR 40 and start Fontaine, and we also need to do Kari Barrett. The only fight worth talking about is the Cryo Herald, and we had Bennett for this, so it was easy. I then horribly miscalculated how much resin I needed to reach AR 40, and then Coco died, which made Emily sad. I decided that the only character that I was going to ascend was Qiqi, but that also meant more violet grass farming. Even with Qiqi's passive talent, she's kinda dumb, but we love her. After a bit of Trial Grounds of Thunder, we reach AR 40 so we can start Fontaine. We meet Linny and Lynette in a maritime harbor, but they don't matter nearly as much as Lady Furina. After giving Linny and Lynette some maritime flowers, we take an aquabus to the court of Fontaine, where we meet Child. He takes the only fight in this quest, so we're gonna skip to Act 2, but before we did that, Emily and Kokomi left to go on a date. For Act 2, Izzy came back because I was getting eepy.
I'm gonna get a gun then.
We investigate with Navia for a while before going into this underwater domain filled with clockwork mecha.
Furina.
She's so glorious. We once again froze them all into their graves. Now it's time for Acts 3 and 4, which is spent entirely in the Fortress of Meripede with no combat. I'll just use this time to tell you what got all the healers in jail. Barbara and Qiqi got accused of stealing Furina's vision even though Furina was just letting them see it, and Bennett fell on a cake being prepared for Furina. Why was Furina there? She was undercover trying to get them out.
What happens if you walk down a waterfall as Furina? She is such an icon, guys. She is literally an icon. Look at her yeah. She almost died, but she's still an icon. Alright, now I'm stuck.
On to Act 5. This quest starts with the tower domain.
Anyway, hey Furina, see that? That's the primordial sea.
And as always, this entire domain is just building up to the final fight in it. The 2 Heliotro rogues and 1 Ruin Guard. Once again, permafreeze was the savior. Just think about it. If they can't hit you, what will they do? Later we put Furina on trial for not being the real Archon, which leads to Furina and Focalor plot. But before that we have to fight 2 Gardamex, and these fights were similar in non-difficulty. We then experienced the best opera of all time with our girl, and now we have to fight the all-devouring Narwhal. And for this fight we brought back Sayu, who was only gone to get some new prescription glasses. Same, Sayu. Same. With the power of Furina, we didn't even need Nivelette's help in the Shadow phase. Furina fulfilled Focalor's wishes, which means Act 5 is over. And that marks the end of Barbara's bizarre adventure. Or in other words, we beat Genshin Impact using only healers. That was fun. Challenging? Absolutely not. But that's fine. Sometimes it's better to have fun with a challenge as opposed to do a difficult one. This was the first team challenge that I've streamed since 1-star weapons over a year ago, and it honestly reminded me of how much I love doing these challenges. All the characters that I used were Barbara, Bennett, Sayu, Furina, and Qiqi, who were all awesome. Of all of them, I can't pick a best character because they were all amazing. On the tier list of difficulty, this goes just barely below Zhongli only, and that's only because of the Hydrotulpa and Oceanid. The next challenge will be the Genshin Impact Soul Link, but until then, I'll leave you with that.